the dip, which is, you can see in this little graphical form here. And Godin defines the dip as the long slog between when you start something and when you master something. Over here would be the area of where you're starting photography, where you're learning all the new stuff, where you're learning things like exposure and aperture and how to get things in and focus and out of focus and how to create some artistic shots. But what ends up happening is that you start to stagnate. All of that really quick stuff happens, and then you're kind of just like, well, what do I do now? What else is there to learn? How do I get better? Okay, I've got to interrupt myself. He's right there. One of them is back, right above me. Can you see him? I don't know if I could see him. He's diving right now. Oh, shit. Come on. Here we go. He's going in. All right, gonna keep watching him. Oh, there he goes.
A warm thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you need a website or a domain, go to squarespace.com/Alex Armitage to save 10% off your first purchase.
Woo, boy, it sure is bright out here. I can't see a dang thing. Man, if only they made some kind of like ND filters for your eyes. Anyways, I'm back here at the local pond that Sophia and I actually filmed this video where she learns photography that I highly recommend if you're at that point in your journey. Great video. But I'm back because the other day we were on a walk and I noticed these ospreys fishing here in this pond, and I had never seen them before. I think they're up here for the spring migratory patterns, and they probably have some nests here, maybe even some chicks that they're feeding. I don't know because they're not near the pond. But when I watched that, I was like, well, being a photographer, I have to come back and with my camera and try to capture it. And then it happened again when I came back, right as I was getting my camera out of my bag. But like right as it was happening, so I was cursing a little bit under my breath because I was literally taking the camera out of the bag as I watch an osprey catch a fish in the pond. And then since then, I've only captured it one time. Literally, this is my third or fourth visit. It's only happened one time. Now, it's reminding me of something that's very important that I want to talk about today in this video, and that's that art and instant gratification cannot coexist. And I think that's just something that gets really lost in photography, specifically because photography on the surface, I think, appears pretty easy nowadays. And it's likely because it's so accessible. There's nothing stopping you from picking up your phone, picking up a device, and taking photos and making images, or in some ways, making art. And because of that accessibility, we really lose sight of the journey that is learning to be a photographer or honing our craft in photography. Just in general, being an artist, being a creator, it's more about the journey than it is about the end result. Because let me hypothetically say this. If right now you've never shot a photo in your life and you picked up a camera or a phone or something and you started taking images that were world class, that were instant gratification, and everyone could do it, would we really care? Would this matter? Would I be standing out here waiting for these dang ospreys to come back so that I could capture them eating? The point is, photography is a journey. Being a creator is a journey, and that without that, none of this would matter. We wouldn't care about it. We would just generate it with AI or something and move on with our lives. Okay, I've got to interrupt myself. He's right there. One of them is back, right above me. Can you see him? I don't know if I could see him. He seems to be gone, and I don't know where he went, or she, almost immediately. And I'm wondering, did they catch a fish while I was filming the intro, and then I missed it? This is your guys' fault. If I missed him, I'm blaming you. All right, I don't know what you guys did or what you're doing at home right now, but the ospreys have not come back since I started filming this video, which is probably good because it actually means I can talk about what I want to talk about in the video, but it's also pretty bad because it means I'm not taking any images. But anyways, I've been reading this book, or I've read this book called The Dip, and that's what inspired me to make this video. And I was reading it for my own YouTube creator journey, but I realized how much it applies to pretty much anyone. Now, this book is called The Dip, as you can tell, and it's by Seth Godin, if you're interested. Now, one thing I want to say and add is that I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that he talks about in here. Most notably, he spends a lot of time talking about how you shouldn't start something unless you want to be the best at it. Now, if I take that in good faith value and I just read it as the most positive way I can, maybe what he means is that when you start something, you should always try to be the best version of yourself at it. But he uses a lot of black and white terminology, and I truly think that he just means that if you're going to start something, you have to approach it by being the best. And I don't necessarily agree with that. So if you read this, know that, because I think that there's a lot of things in life, even photography specifically, that you don't have to be the best at, that it's absolutely worth it to do it if you don't care about being the best at it. Now, where it's the most applicable to something like photography is in the namesake, the dip, which is, you can see in this little graphical form here. And Godin defines the dip as the long slog between when you start something and when you master something. He also says that the dip, or anything worth doing in life, probably has the dip in it. And if you relate it specifically to photography and we put it in graphical terms, over here would be the area of where you're starting photography, where you're learning all the new stuff, where you're learning things like exposure and aperture and how to get things in and focus and out of focus and how to create some artistic shots. Maybe you're learning how to edit your images in Lightroom for the first time, and you're taking something and turning it into something that you're proud of. And then you start sending it to your friends or family, and they're giving you a lot of positive feedback. And then it kind of gets a little bit harder. And maybe you start posting stuff online and it's not getting as much traction, or you're trying to learn something new like, I don't know, focus stacking, or maybe using different exposure blending techniques, or you're advancing into luminosity masks in your editing, or you're trying to simplify down and not edit as much. But what ends up happening, according to this graph, and I think what most people would probably relate to, is that you start to stagnate. All of that really quick stuff happens, and then you're kind of just like, well, what do I do now? What else is there to learn? How do I get better? And I think the misleading thing about this picture on the front is that the dip here is not nearly wide enough. I think most dips for most people are really long. And I think that's important when you're looking at this. And the last thing is that this giant rise over here, this is where most people don't get to. That's when you master whatever it is we're talking about. In this case, photography. And I think most people don't reach this point.
Come stand with me down under the stars at night. Come look with me from where I stand. You can see most everything. And I've been waiting.
Okay, so the Osprey has come back. We've still got maybe 10, 20 more minutes of good light. Oh, he's diving. Oh, did he get anything? Oh my God, I got it on film.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Okay, so the timing for that couldn't have been more perfect. As you can tell, between me filming this right now and what you just saw is all of a couple minutes, and the light has now gone behind some trees. But he was literally only here for like 3 minutes. I turned on the camera, I got this camera, he dove one time, I hit the record button, I got the footage you just saw, and then he was gone. I mean, I have to admit, that's some really good efficiency. Look, it's okay. With that terrible pun, it's okay if you don't want to like and subscribe to the video. I would completely understand. But there's a lot of great stuff to talk about, and hopefully some more Ospreys to photograph, because I didn't actually photograph them, I just got that footage. So stick around, but I would understand if you have already clicked away because of that terrible fish joke.
Stop everything in your arms, in your arms. And the time it takes is a turn away, but it's time we thought about it. And you feel the
The dip can be many things. It doesn't necessarily have to be business success or becoming famous or reaching your financial goals. It could literally be your own work. I mean, the X and Y axis are just effort and results. And let's just make the results satisfaction in your own photos. Then you can make it whatever you want it to be. I mean, heck, take my YouTube channel, for example. If I put the views up from the last 4.5 years, well, does it look like something? That's the dip. It's literally happening on my channel as we speak. And I think it's really important to remember that many people make it to this point, less people make it to this point in the dip, and very few people make it to this point. But I actually think that that's a really good thing. Let me explain. All right, back for another day. I've upgraded to ND filters on my eyes, and Sophia has decided to join me for soaking in some of the sun and hopefully finding the Ospreys. 15 years ago, I was in college, which is university for you guys across the pond. And up until that point, I had never failed at anything. Now, don't get me wrong, I was not a great student by any means. I took some advanced classes in high school, but for the most part, I just tried to get as many Bs as I possibly could. And I focused a lot of my efforts into playing World of Warcraft. Actually, so much so that I left my junior year of high school and went into my senior year of high school on the same tank of gas. Yeah, least to say that school was never really my priority, but I was really f***ing good at WoW. Oh, don't I miss the days of playing video games for 12 hours a day with not a concern in the world. Anyways, where was I? Oh, that's right. Junior year of electrical engineering. I had to take a class called Circuits 1. I'm sure the class name was a little longer than that, but that's what I remember it being called. And for those that are unfamiliar, which I assume is probably most of you, Circuits 1 is the class that is designated to create scarcity within my major. This may have been something like organic chemistry or data structures or calc-based physics for your particular major. We were 72 students, and only 20 of us would make it. This was a natural way to keep classroom sizes down and manageable, but most importantly, just find out who's actually cut out to be within the major. Circuits 1 was the first time I'd ever failed at anything in academia. Well, I am sure I failed a test or two, but I mean like the first major thing. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Actually, on the contrary, I lost a lot more than $200. And you might be sitting there thinking I was probably devastated or disappointed, and I mean, I was disappointed in myself, but the reality is I wasn't surprised. I did not deserve to pass. I didn't put in the effort that it was going to require, and it was kind of a wake-up call to be like, all right, I got to do something different. I can't just do what I've always done in my life. Something I can do that I'm really good at is giving away free editing videos to you. You can find a link in the description for my free Patreon that has free editing videos. I'm going to be editing a few of the images from this video. Well, that is as long as some more Ospreys show up and there's actually images to edit for the video. But you can check that out in the link in the description. It's totally free. All you got to do is sign up with your email. All right, so after about an hour and a half, one of the Ospreys showed up and they just left. They were only here for about 5 minutes. They made a couple dive attempts, but they never actually ended up in the water, so didn't get any photos. Speaking of, I am prioritizing photos today since we got that great clip yesterday, and considering it happens so rarely, and if I keep trying to get footage of it, I'm never gonna get any photos. All right, while I continue to wait for one of these Ospreys to show back up, there's a quote from the book that I wanna read to you. So he quotes the famous Vince Lombardi quote, which is, "Quitters never win and winners never quit." But he goes on to say that he thinks that this is bad advice and that winners quit all the time. They just quit the right stuff at the right time. He goes on to say that most people quit. In fact, many professions and marketplaces profit from quitters. Society assumes that you're going to quit. And now I'll remind you that I don't agree with everything in this book, but I do think that what he's saying here is pretty accurate. It's possible that I should have quit back when I failed that class for electrical engineering and used that time for better things in my life. But I didn't quit. I went to take that class again, and I was one of the lucky 20 people that moved on, and 3 years later, I got my degree in electrical engineering. You might be sitting there wondering, well, wait a second, you took the class again and you passed, why would you have quit? Why do you look back at it now? The key information there is I never ended up using that degree, and that maybe if I had quit at the right time and started something like this, who knows where I would be in the world of photography or YouTube or anything like that. But I'm not gonna look back on it and regret it. I still think it was the right decision, but it's important to note that sometimes it's good to quit when it makes sense. And I think when it comes to photography, I don't necessarily think quitting means stopping forever. It might just mean setting your camera down and reconnecting with it at a different time. I know that when I wasn't taking this so seriously and shooting all the time or having to shoot, I would put my camera down for 6 months to a year, and then I would pick it back up again and I would rekindle that connection. So sometimes being in the dip isn't necessarily quitting forever, it's just taking a break so that you can reconnect with your art, with your creative side, or your photography. Okay, the Osprey is back. He's diving right now. Oh shit. 2 dives, no catch, but I did get a couple photos of him coming out of the water. But once again, pretty far away. Flying around, he's diving, he's diving, he's diving. Nope, he didn't go in the water. Shoot. Man, this is the most I've ever seen one dive. Normally they just hover over and over and over again. Come on. Come on. Here we go. He's going in. Oh, come on. Oh, man, that would have been so good. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, no, you're too far away. Oh, he's going in. Oh, he didn't go in the water. Flying, he's flying. He's diving, he's diving. Oh, he didn't go in the water. He's diving, diving. He's in the water, he's in the water. He's just floating in the water. What's happening? Did he get anything? Oh, yes, he did. Oh, but he was so far away. Man, he was in the water for a while, but he got the fish. And I got some photos. I don't know if they're any good, but we got some photos. The light was just beautiful. Oh, that one's a little dark. Oh, that's nice. Beautiful. Okay, I think maybe I got one, maybe two. Like I said, he's pretty far away. Oh, those two are out of focus. Well, you can only do so much, can you? All right, well, we've at least got some photos of an osprey with a fish in its talons. So I would say that this evening is a success.
And I wouldn't miss it for the
Regardless of where you are, it's always good to remind ourselves that photography is not as easy as it looks. Something that is really easy to do, though, is build a beautiful portfolio page to display your work using today's sponsor, Squarespace. Unlike many forms of art, building a website shouldn't be a long slog with a dip in between. Squarespace makes it easy to create a simple, elegant, and most importantly, easy to build and manage website. Recently, I've been updating my homepage from a wall of portfolio images to a mixture of recent work, a bit about me, how to buy prints, and a lot more. Crafting a page like this is really easy using Squarespace's Fluid engine that allows you to drag and drop a ton of different elements with no website design knowledge required. And as someone who has spent a lot of time developing websites, learning best practices on how to deliver information to a viewer, better ways to sell your products, and even to get the top results on Google, I want to help you. If you use my code AlexArmitage or visit squarespace.com/AlexArmitage, you're going to save 10% on your first purchase, but I'm also personally going to give you my feedback for your website and portfolio. All you got to do is email me a link to your Squarespace website and proof showing you used my code, and after that, I'll spend some time looking over your page and giving some feedback on how you can improve your site. That's it. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. The beauty of art is that it's pretty much accessible to everyone. It's just that only a select few, the people that make it through that dip, make it to be exceptional. And that scarcity provides value to whatever it is we're talking about, whether it's a photographer, a doctor, an artist, anything. Getting through that long slog and getting to the other side isn't easy, and a lot of people go through it. But anything in life worth doing probably has it. I'll give you an example right now, how important scarcity is to providing value in something. If I told you that I know how to drive a car, you'd be like, well, thanks for wasting my time. Why are you telling me this? Everyone can drive a car. But then if I said I can fly fighter jets, you'd probably be a lot more blown away, especially since they're fighter jets. It might blow you away. But by the way, I can't actually fly a fighter jet. That would be amazing. That would be a dream. And that's exactly my point. It's the kind of thing that seems so inaccessible, so far reaching. It's the 10 years to become a doctor. It's the long slog to, I don't know, make it on YouTube, if you will. It's the becoming an astronaut or a fighter jet or a nurse or getting through the class that you failed that weeds out everyone else in making it through. It's what provides value. And most people don't reach that ending point. Heck, you could look at this whole experience of the Ospreys as being a long slog. Now, it's definitely not becoming a fighter jet or getting a degree, but in a microscopic way, I came here, I got some great photos, and then they never came back and I never got more photos until right now. But that last little bit is not what I'm most excited for. That now that I've gotten the photos, I don't feel like I've accomplished it and I'm all done. What I do feel like, though, is that I got to share it with you. And I think that that's what's really important. That's the entire point of this video, is to remind you that photography is not easy. Art is not easy. Life is not easy. And that sometimes we go through long dips and that that's okay. And that sometimes putting your camera down and picking it back up later also is okay. The biggest thing is, are you enjoying it? Are you challenging yourself and realizing that without going through that, it wouldn't mean anything to you? It would just be nothing. Who would care? Just generate it with AI. Copy it from the internet. Doesn't matter. No one got that Osprey photo except for me. I got to make it. I got to do it. That's what matters. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, consider liking the video. Consider subscribing if you like terrible puns and not getting any photos of Ospreys. And I'll see you in the next one. There's got to be a rainbow out there somewhere. We just got to go find them. Later.